Part 3 of Robot after this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, talking about part 3 of Robot, the first Tom Baker adventure of Doctor Who. In this, it's quite obvious now. I think that for the time, for TV budgets, and especially the BBC, which worked on smaller budgets than American television, they did pretty good with what they had. And as I said last week, it's not a bad deal when they had such good costuming, like the robot suit was actually pretty well done. I would say that while it didn't meet the standard of the Lost in Space robot or the Forbidden Planet robot, obviously with the budget that they had, they did very well. What I do have a problem with, of course, is the fact that a lot of the set pieces were made out of balsa wood. And it was very obvious, even in the last episode, where the robot hits the window and the frame jump out, because the window frame was made out of balsa wood, and the window pane was probably spun sugar. So, in fact, the windowsill probably broke before the window did. And then you have also the doors. The doors were a little too light. You can tell when they were being opened and closed that they were made out of very lightweight material, and eventually were, punched through when the robot comes out of the building and the unit troops are shooting at it. It basically has to kind of shove it out of the way so that it can walk. Of course, the actor inside the suit had some difficulties moving around, and that is to be understood. But it was just a little bit. I think that when you have something like that, you try not to show it for very long. If you go past it pretty quickly, you don't notice it as much. We'll talk about that in a future video, but the some of the times they were able to cover up for some of their technical limitations, and sometimes they weren't. This was one of those times when they really weren't. This is the first time that we ever saw the Doctor use his sonic screwdriver. Of course, John Pertwee had a sonic screwdriver. Tom Baker had a different one. He was still using Pertwee's screwdriver, in my understanding, in this episode, and used it to try to detonate landmines and to try to cut through the door. I always wondered how a sonic screwdriver could do much, being sonic. And they explained it a little bit later that the Doctor called it a sonic screwdriver because it made a noise. But they waited until only a few years ago to ever talk about that. I found a couple of things that kind of didn't make sense, and this hasn't anything to do with the budget of the program, just kind of an unfortunate thing. The robot is holding Sarah and Harry hostage in a room, and then the people come in to get the gun out of the room. And I'm thinking, now, why do you put somebody in a gun room as a hostage if they were able to reach over there and shoot the robot with it? That's just, or anybody else for that matter. And that's just something that seemed kind of silly. But I think they did that just as, keep from having to light another part of the stage. Sometimes that's all the reason there is for things like that. And, of course, in the attack on the bunker, unit brings in tanks. And the one tank that they show is a toy in forced perspective. So in the very foreground, you see this huge plastic tank. And in the background, you have the bunker and the robot. It was not very believable. Once again, it was in a very brief time, and their ability to use military equipment was very limited. Stock footage sometimes is available, and in fact, in an earlier episode, they were able to show a helicopter flying over, and it just happened that there actually was a helicopter flying over their filming area, and they just filmed that and used it. It was not anything that had been planned. It was just a bit of luck on their part. We have a good look at their bad guy, which is an environmental group, which they make up to be kind of a parallel to Nazi Party, including their party apparatus and their Frankenstein type of reveal of the robot on stage, and of course they reinforce that later in the next episode. But these kind of things are heavily borrowed, or you could call it stolen, but we won't. Like to know what you think about this? Please let us know in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you know when the next video is coming your way. We do quite a lot of these things, so we hope that you can join us for some of them. We hope that we have something that you like. And until next time, don't go far.